Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into a really powerful story. It's all about what it means to keep your faith when you have literally nothing else, and how a single, small act of kindness can completely change your destiny.
This right here, this single idea is really the heart of the entire story. It sets the stage for a journey that's going to test the very limits of what a person can endure and what it truly means to believe.
Okay, so our story starts in a small, quiet village, and here we meet our main character, Ibrahim, a man whose spiritual wealth was just immeasurable, even as his day-to-day life was all about poverty. I want you to picture this, a simple house, maybe mud brick with a roof made of dry grass. That was Ibrahim's entire world. Every single morning before the sun was even up, he would rise to pray. And his heart wasn't filled with requests for more stuff, for wealth, but with gratitude for what he already had. His real treasure wasn't gold, it was this deep, unshakable connection he felt with God.
But here's the thing, living under that exact same roof was a completely different story. Ibrahim's wife, Nadira, she saw their life in a totally different light. While he found richness in his faith, all she saw was the shame of being poor. She would look at their neighbors with their big houses and gold jewelry, and she longed for that. This created a really deep and painful crack right down the middle of their home.
That kind of tension, that clash of two completely different worlds, it can't last forever. Something had to give. And when it finally did, it threw Ibrahim into the absolute darkest, most lonely moment of his entire life.
So one night, all of Nadira's frustration just boiled over. See, she had her eye on a wealthy man in the village, a guy named Qasim, and she just couldn't take another day of what she saw as a worthless life with Ibrahim. And with those awful final words, she threw her own husband out into the cold night.
And you know what? He didn't argue. He didn't put up a fight. With his heart just completely shattered, Ibrahim grabbed the few things that meant the world to him and simply walked away from the only home he had ever known, into a future he couldn't even begin to imagine.
It's right here, in this moment of complete and utter loss, that the whole story pivots. Because it's often when we have nothing left, when we're at our lowest point, that our true character really, truly comes out. So, after wandering for days, he's weak from hunger, weak from thirst, and he finally just collapses. He's woken up by this tiny, helpless cat shivering next to him. And in that moment, seeing another creature in pain, his own suffering just kind of fades into the background. He uses the very last of his strength to give it the last few drops of water he has, showing it mercy when he himself had been shown none.
Now, this small act of compassion, you might think it's insignificant, right? But it was about to have consequences that were absolutely staggering. It was a test of his heart, and the reward for passing that test would change his life forever.
The very next morning, the cat leads him to a strange pile of rocks and disappears into this little tunnel. Ibrahim gets this feeling, this gut instinct that it's a sign, so he follows it, and what he finds inside, it's just beyond belief. A cave glittering with piles of gold coins, jewels, priceless artifacts. It was the lost treasure of a king from 200 years ago.
But listen, this is the most crucial part of the whole story. Ibrahim's reaction. Faced with wealth you and I can't even imagine, his first instinct isn't greed. It's just this overwhelming sense of gratitude. He falls to his knees, and he sees this treasure not as his personal jackpot, but as a sacred duty from God, a tool to help others. So with this new sense of purpose, Ibrahim's journey takes another huge turn. He doesn't set out to build some life of luxury for himself. No, he sets out to show the world the same virtues that had defined him all along: kindness, charity, and forgiveness.
Ibrahim took that ancient gold and he turned it into modern-day miracles. He started a soup kitchen where anyone who was hungry could get a meal, no questions asked. He built a school so that poor kids could finally get an education. He created a safe haven for women and children who had nowhere else to turn. His name became another word for hope. And this, right here, just brilliantly shows the core lesson of his life. The money didn't change who Ibrahim was. It just amplified the goodness that was already inside his heart. The same man who was patient when he was poor was now overflowing with gratitude when he was rich. His situation changed completely, but his character, that stayed exactly the same.
Well, eventually the news of his good deeds made its way back to his old village. And one day, a poor, hungry Nadira shows up at his soup kitchen,
begging for food. Years after that, a broken and penniless Qasim, the wealthy man she had left Ibrahim for, he came to him for help too. And to both of them, he didn't offer revenge. He offered them food, a place to stay, and his complete and total forgiveness, freeing himself from the weight of all that hate.
So, after all of that, what are the big takeaways from this incredible journey of highs and lows? Well, the story of Ibrahim really leaves us with some powerful truths that apply to all of us. First, that real wealth, it isn't what's in our bank account, it's what's in our heart, our faith. Second, that no act of kindness, not even something as small as giving water to a thirsty cat, is ever wasted. You never know what it might lead to. Third, that the hard times we face aren't always there to break us. Sometimes they're there to prepare us for something bigger. And finally, that when you forgive someone, the person you're really freeing is yourself. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. Abraham's entire life was turned upside down by a single moment of compassion when he had absolutely nothing else to give. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What small act of mercy, maybe one you give or one you receive, holds the power to change your entire story?